Hi, I'm Blair Gilbert, here for MrHardware.com and Gilbert's Pro Hardware in St. Clair Shores. We are here today to discuss drafty basements. Well, the first place where wind comes blowing into your house in the basement is usually at the bond, or the rim joist, or perimeter joist. It goes by many names depending on what school you went to. This wood here is a 2x8, runs all the way around the perimeter of the house. On the other side of that 2x8 is typically little or no insulation. On a brick home, there's an air gap and bricks, no insulation. So when the wind's blowing or the house is at a partial decompression, air is going to come flying into that air space. So what we've done first is, we're going to show you a couple different ways of doing this. We've took some caulk, a rubber tube, we took and we vacuumed off and took a brush and knocked all the crumb off the top of the wall here, and we took this hose, we used it to get the caulking down in those hard to reach areas to create a seal between the bond and the top of the masonry wall. So we've already done a pretty decent job of stopping wind infiltration. We still haven't added any insulation to it yet. So for the economy side of this job, we just take and we use caulk and we'll stuff that joist space with fiberglass insulation. So, best way to cut fiberglass is just with a long knife, sharp knife, something that has a straight edge. And what I've done, I've taken a piece of plywood, I've marked it at 9 inches, which is a couple inches longer than we need. And what I do is I take a straight edge, I use it to compress the fiberglass, make it a little easier to cut. Because if I compress it, plus I'm using my plywood as a jig, so now I can cut a bunch of these at 9 inches all at once. We come up to our caulk joint, one copper pipe, get an approximate mark, we cut partway through it, we have fiberglass going all the way around the pipe. Now once in a while I've run into an instance, this house happens to have a frost-free silcock on the outside of the house. This is a hose bib that they connect their hose to. The shutoff for this faucet is here. So when this faucet shut off, there's no water from here out to freeze. So if we didn't have that, if we had just a regular old silcock out there, when we insulate this, we are now going to reduce the amount of heat that used to leak through our house and keep that faucet from freezing. Now we insulated it, it may freeze. We're going to use 2 layers because we bought a roll of 35 feet, 3.5 inch thick, made for a 16 inch on center house, which is 14.5 inches of fiberglass. We bought a standard roll, 35 feet, $10. Stopping the airflow. Get it nice and neat, get it in here, throw a few tacks in it, hold it in place, and life is good. This is our economy job. This is one heck of a lot better than having nothing up there and just having air blowing into our basement. So the economy job is done. The only thing is we got to do it 60 more times. This particular house happens to have a bay window overhead, and the bay window over the yard with no foundation underneath it. So that room sticks out past the house, no insulation, no heat out there. It's no wonder when you're sitting in the kitchen in front of the bay window that your feet are cold in the wintertime. So what we've done is we're downstairs, we're looking up at the rafters, the floor joists below, and we're looking at the joist space and how it goes out over the house. What we did prior is we took 1 inch styrofoam, we attached it to the bottom of the overhang outside the house. We then had some aluminum bent at our local siding place, and we covered it with aluminum. So we've created an R value of 10 because we used this 1.5 inch styrofoam, and we have the aluminum over it, so we're somewhat rodent resistant. We now have a better vapor barrier for wind and wind attenuation, and now what we want to do is we want to get out there and see if we can't get some unfaced insulation because we're doing this after the fact. If it was done before the fact, the facing would be up against the heated area. And we're going to take and get this unfaced fiberglass, which you can buy faced fiberglass and tear the facing off if you can't find it to afford it. And a little pushing stick here in the front of our pile, all the way to the bond. Just like that. Now, our insulation comes past the outside wall. The thickness of our wall is 8 inches. So we've achieved real nice vapor barrier. Now, if we want to go the extra inch, we could take some styrofoam, like we did over here where there is no cantilever, and we can put the foam in front of this fiberglass, tack weld it in with aerosol foam, and we can make this an airtight cavity with a real nice insulation in there. So, we're here in the cantilever. Heat duct runs out there, uninsulated. So all the cold air is just a pain that flies in. So we're going to take a little fiberglass wrapped around the end of our stick, and we're going to send this stuff to the front wall, all the way to the bond. We're going to get past the ductwork. Oh, that worked out real smooth. Because we're trying to keep the cold air that's on the bond. That's the bond. That's the outside of the house. Chances are there's no insulation on the other side of that bond. So the cold air here in Michigan, 10 degrees. That wood is 10 degrees. Because all that cold air is just warping to the floor. We're just saving money and getting more comfortable for a mere $10 roll fiberglass insulation. And we've added a little bit of insulation around the perimeter. Here's where we did a little fire stopping, our fiberglass right over our electrical panel. We don't want to get this too tight. We may have to come back in here someday, but just to help give us a little more R value.